Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2023 City of Miami Beach Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I'm Lisette Garcia Rogante, Director of Tourism and Culture for the City of Miami Beach. I would like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for volunteering their time for this momentous occasion, the Tourism and Culture Department, the various city departments, and Convention Center teams for working for so many months to make this special event. We're so honored to have you here with us. And now if you join me in a warm welcome to our City Manager, Alina Hudak.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our home away from home. These are our City Commission chambers temporarily while we renovate, and I just want to commend and thank our staff for making this happen. I have to admit that we were in a little bit of a panic. We were over capacity, but this is a great problem to have. It's a tribute to everyone that we're honoring today, and it's a tribute to legacy and tradition, and certainly we are so proud to be able to host this event this morning and to commend and congratulate individuals that mean so much to all of us who love the city of Miami Beach. So congratulations to everyone here this morning. A very special thanks to Michael Andrews and the string quartet that you enjoyed outside. Very special thanks to Robin Jacobs for providing leadership to this process. Thank you, Robin, for everything you do for our city. And again, I just want to commend and congratulate so many families and so many individuals that have spent so many years of their life contributing to the benefit of the city of Miami Beach. I believe Commissioner Mickey Steinberg is here. I don't know, Commissioner Steinberg, if you're here. Commissioner, thank you so much for creating the concept of a Hall of Fame. Here we are today. I believe this is our third Hall of Fame ceremony, and again, what an honor to be able to enjoy this morning. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Mayor Dan Gelber, who I believe someday we'll see his picture on this wall. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Alina. And thank you, Lisette. And everybody who put this together, we're very appreciative of that. I think I need to thank Tom Mooney for doing the bow tie for me. Did not know, my father only wore bow ties, and I needed to wear one, and I never learned that skill, and I don't think I ever will. So Tom, you're secure in your job. And thank you, of course, to Alina. Look, we are not Anytown, USA, right? We're Miami Beach. We're an incredibly unique place, and though much has changed in a little bit over 100 years, we still, I think, remain the largest small town in the world. And that's just the only way to describe us. Our evolution over a century has been filled with challenges and opportunities. And today we're going to celebrate a few of the people who have contributed to our culture, our economy, our wellness, frankly, the civic life that we all love and the sense of place that brings us here. Even in a city with so many luminaries, the Hall of Fame stands out as one of the great honors you can receive. It's not only given to people who have made extraordinary contributions to the city in the world of art and architecture and athletics and business and civics and design and education, family legacy or science, but it also is about that sort of undefinable impact you've had in the course of our city and our lives. So I want to thank Robin and all of the Hall of Fame committee members, Ceci, Mayor Bauer, Lizette, Joe, David, Jeffrey, David, and Randy. You had a very hard task to sit around and figure out who should be on this wall, but you did it thoughtfully, and we appreciate all the time that you put in. So with that, I'd like to, before we begin celebrating these individuals, I would like to call on our chair to begin, Robin Jacobs, Chair of the Hall of Fame Committee.
Thank you, Mayor Gelber. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to ask my fellow committee members to please stand up. I think David's here, whoever else is in the house, and I want to thank them for their service. Thank you so much. And anyone else I don't see, the other, Mayor Bauer. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm deeply honored to have served as chair of this committee. And on behalf of myself and the exceptional individuals that you just saw who served with me on the Hall of Fame committee, I express our heartfelt gratitude to the dedicated team of the city. Without their unwavering support, guidance, and commitment, the Hall of Fame process would not have been possible. We extend our sincerest thanks to Lisette Arrogante. Lisette, Brandy Reddick, Francis Valesio, Sandra Schonlank, Melissa Berthier, and of course, Mayor Gelber, Chief of Staff Michelle Berger, City Manager Alina Hudak, Marcia Montserrat, and all of the incredible commissioners who are here today. Please stand up. The commissioners, please stand up. And of course, we recognize the brainchild of this Hall of Fame, Commissioner Mickey Steinberg. Mickey? And now it's my true privilege and honor to introduce Muhammad Ali. He's our first inductee. He was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but molded in Miami Beach. When he arrived here, he was a shy, ambitious 18-year-old Cassius Clay. He won the heavyweight championship here. He announced his conversion to Islam and changed his name to Ali here. He declared his opposition to the Vietnam War here. His outspoken views on civil rights and social justice made him a symbol of the movement. He refused to be drafted into the Vietnam War and was stripped of his boxing titles as a result. But Ali fought back and eventually had his convictions overturned by the Supreme Court. Muhammad was a vocal advocate for African American rights, and his activism inspired other people to join him. This helped to promote a culture of diversity and inclusion in Miami Beach. There was nothing secretive about Clay's sessions at the Fifth Street Gym on Miami Beach. As he moved up the heavyweight ladder, more fight fans stopped in to watch him spar, and he entertained them with his unorthodox style and constant patter. On the morning of February 25th, 1964, Clay strode through the Miami Beach Convention Center for the weigh-in with trainer Angelo Dundee and cornerman Drew Bundy Brown. Clay turned the pre-fight weigh-in to a circus, shouting at Sonny Liston that someone is going to die at ringside tonight. Clay's pulse raced to 120, more than double his normal 54. Before he entered the ring, he prayed with Malcolm X. The crowd of 8,271 at the half-full Miami Beach Convention Center saw about none of them had actually envisioned. Clay won the fight in the 7th round by TKO. The next morning, on February 26, 1964, Clay announced his affiliation with the Nation of Islam. At first, he called himself Cassius X before settling on the name Muhammad Ali. Ali is considered one of the greatest boxers of all time, with a personal record of 56 wins, 37 by knockout, and only 5 losses. He won the World Heavyweight Championship 3 times and defended his title a total of 19 times. One antidote that captures Ali's charm is his famous quote when asked about his boxing style. He stated, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." This phrase perfectly encapsulates his agility and power in the ring, but it also showcases his poetic way with words, something that endeared him to his fans worldwide and on Miami Beach. It's only fitting that Muhammad Ali is being recognized and honored by the Miami Beach Hall of Fame. His legacy in the city and the impact he has on the sport of boxing is immeasurable. His name will forever be etched into the sands of Miami Beach, a symbol of inspiration and determination for generations to come. The Ali family unfortunately could not be with us today, but they send their sincere gratitude for this honor. So please join me in celebrating this icon from Miami Beach. Mayor Gelber.
I am so excited to be able to talk about my Saturday school teacher, Judy Drucker. She was. And her history is, well, the cultural history of our city couldn't be written without talking about Judy Drucker. In fact, I think Judy Drucker wrote our cultural history, frankly. And for those of you who don't know, one of the advantages of this ceremony today is you're going to learn a little bit about Miami Beach's history, which is really one of the great purposes of this whole exercise. So, Ms. Drucker, that's what I called her when I was in school, was born in June 20th, 1928. And to say she was irrepressible does not do justice. I don't know that there's a word that can describe the force that she became in our city. She brought a spotlight to our city that, frankly, has never left. And it really was about Judy. She was a child prodigy of music. She studied piano at the New York College of Music and voice at Juilliard and the Curtis Institute of Music. She was a trained soprano, and when she later studied voice at the University of Miami and stayed here, she actually performed at local clubs. She married Marine veteran David Drucker in college, and then she settled into domestic life. But that was not sufficient, so she decided simply to alter the canvas of our city forever. She began by going to Rabbi Leon Kronish at Temple Beth Shalom and said, you know, I'd like to start a couple lectures, if you don't mind. And sure, why not? And then soon, Ali Wiesel, David Halberstam, and others were showing up to speak to the citizens and residents of Miami Beach. She converted that series into the great artist series, which was just created of whole cloth. There's no real reason why it should have been out of Temple Beth Shalom. It's not like it was a cultural institution, but it was because Judy was there. It was really, if you think about it, some really incredible. She became then the artistic director of the Colony Theater, the Florida Grand Opera. She founded the Concert Association of Florida, and at those times, the organizations became the largest classical presenters in the southeastern United States. She brought so many world-famous people to our city to perform, and dance companies. She sold out every major venue in South Florida, including the Dade County Auditorium, the Adrian Arch Center, for the New World Center, and the Broward Center for Performing Arts. It really, to talk about her, doesn't do enough justice. If you lived through it, it was something quite amazing. She brought the most talented and sought-after artists to Miami Beach, including, of course, Luciano Pavarotti, Beverly Sills, Isaac Stern, Vladimir Horowitz, Yo-Yo Ma, Leonard Bernstein, Itzhak Perlman, Mikhail Baryshnikov. I'm pretty good with the names so far. I took out all the ones I can't pronounce. Twyla Tharp, Zubin Mehta, Pinchas Zuckerman, Wynton Marsalis, Cecilia Bartoli, and, of course, the three tenors, along with the conductors, James Conlon, and, of course, MTT, as we will talk about in a moment. On January 22nd, Judy Drucker produced Pavarotti on the Beach. And any of you who lived here in 1995, 120,000 people were on our beaches listening to Luciano Pavarotti. That's the spring break we want. But it was an opportunity of a lifetime. My dad said that it was the greatest cultural event in the history of our city, and I think it will likely always be the greatest cultural event in the history of our city. For 40 years, Judy Drucker shined a spotlight on our city and worked tirelessly to do so many things. And it wasn't just about culture, it was also, there was a humanity to what she did. She worked with the Miami Beach Jewish Federation to help relocate Soviet Jews to Miami Beach to allow them the freedoms of a better life in our country. And she also gave all of these refuseniks tickets to her culture performances because they came from places where they expected something like that. So for us, for our city, we should be grateful to Judy Drucker. Her work will live forever in our city with every time we think about ourselves as a cultural destination. So it is my honor to ask her son, Andrew Drucker, to come on up to accept this great award.
Mayor, I'm touched. I really am, Mayor. Those were magnificent words, and thank you for helping me with this. I'm glad that you covered her accomplishments because I have comments I want to make about her outside of her cultural life. So I wrote down a few things that I think many of you may either find interesting or, on the other hand, it'll just be worth knowing. Okay, the story, I'll refer to my mom as Judy Beauty because no one other than Luciano Pavarotti gave her that nickname. For whatever reason, he had difficulty with a lot of names, and so it was just easy, Judy Beauty. So we're going to refer to her as Judy Beauty. That's the way I like to think of her. My mom started her life in Brooklyn, and she was very proud of the fact that she was born and raised in Brooklyn. At the age of, I believe, 12, her entire family moved to Miami Beach, primarily because one of her brothers, she had three brothers, but one of them was an asthmatic, and the family doctor suggested they get to a warmer climate. So that's what brought their, so you see, there are some positive aspects to having asthma. But in any event, they moved down here, and my mom and her family moved into a house on Michigan Avenue, right near Flamingo Park. And I remember even as, years later when she got married and had her own children, she would always walk over to the handball courts with me to show me where her dad played handball. And it was really, I enjoyed it. I loved seeing Flamingo Park then because I didn't know there were parks that large anywhere in the state. So anyway, she started there. As it turned out, she never left Miami Beach. She remained a resident of Miami Beach for between 70 and 80 years. 'Cause I have to add one little proviso. Just before the end, she did move to the city of Miami. She moved over to the Palm Bay Towers. But for a good 75 years, my mom was a permanent resident of Miami Beach and absolutely loved Miami Beach, as did my dad. But anyway, getting back, during her high school years, she was singing at the Latin Quarter. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it was a club owned by Lou Walters on, I believe, Star Island. And she was doing this when she was about 16 years of age. Her father didn't know about it. Her mom was shielding her father from it because apparently her dad would not have been very happy about it. And they had to make excuses until he finally found out about it one day, was not happy, but allowed her to continue. And that really was the beginning of her singing career, so to speak. And the mayor got into the other stuff. I don't have to talk about her accomplishments, thank you again, because I had no intention of doing so. Years after she got out of high school, she met my dad, who was actually a Marine fighter pilot in World War II. There was an 11-year age difference between them. They got married, immediately started having children, and there's an unknown fact that I'm going to share with you, really, and it's a true thing. My mother technically raised 3 girls and me, all right? Even though biologically she had 2 daughters and 1 son, my parents took in a young girl who was only about 8 years old at the time, who stayed with us through her life, actually up until the time she went through college. And it's just, I mention it because to me, looking back, I think it's one of the greatest things that my parents ever did. They could not formally adopt this child for reasons that are irrelevant right now, primarily no consent from the mom, but they did raise another child in our house, who I think of as a full-fledged sister, and her name is Ellen. My other sisters are Kathy and Vicky. All right, now, my mom was really a phenomenal mother. Aside from being involved in the arts, she was really, and as the mayor said, before she started getting involved in what really became her career, she was a stay-at-home mom for a number of years. She did teach at Temple Beth Shalom for a while. She taught at Temple Israel, and she was there, and she used to take us for day trips, and my mom was always great about keeping me out of school to do something fun. And I always appreciated that as a young child. She said, we're gonna go to the Keys today. We did that every once in a while, and it was a dream to a child, and I kind of carried that on. I do the same type of thing with my own kids. Well, I did with my own kids. Let me see what else. Okay. As I said before, and I'll just reiterate it, my mother loved Miami Beach. She really had a commitment to this city. She and my dad just loved living here. My father was also a transplant from New York, but they just had a real love for this city and really believed in it and saw a future in it. And they both committed themselves in many different ways to making sure that Miami Beach was not only a fun place for them to live, but for the citizens as well. And that's part of the joy that she got out of what she did. She really, really loved the work she was involved in and loved meeting the artists and had all kinds of funny stories about them, which will be left for another day. Before I conclude, there are a few people I just want to point out. I don't know whether or not Mark Bryn is here, but Mark was a very, very, very dear, important friend of my mom's. He was my mom's attorney, and really, in many ways, her guiding light, her pillar of stability, the kind of guy she would call the first thing in the morning and end her day with. But he got her through a lot of really, really difficult periods in her life, both professionally and personally. I also want to mention that my mom was very friendly with Cy Gelber. And I mean, they had a beautiful friendship. And I know that the mayor did so much for my mom to try to smooth the course pardon me, my voice is drying up. But he really was a tremendous influence and a hugely positive one. So I thank you. You're following in his footsteps. One other little interesting piece that you wouldn't know, my wife, who is an attorney and a family mediator and also involved in the juvenile justice system, works in the Children's Courthouse, which is obviously named in honor of your dad, Judy, my contemporary, I went to high school with. Yeah, so I mean, there's a really interesting connection because every time my wife walks in the building, she sees the plaque for your dad and for Judge Gladstone. I don't know if Michael Tilson Thomas has a representative here, but he's another person that was obviously very important in my mother's life. Lastly, I have two kids here today. Two of my four kids, my daughters Lindsay and Alexa, who are twins, are somewhere here. I wanted to recognize them because I really appreciate their coming here. My mother had an incredible relationship with them, and that's part of why they're here. Later in her life, as things were winding down, she developed this magnificent relationship with my two younger daughters, who are not a planned thing, okay? It was one of these whoopsies. So 16 years after my first child was born, Lindsay and Alexa were born, and my mom really poured so much effort into that relationship. Anyway, I have nothing more to say. I want to thank the committee for selecting my mom, for all the efforts that were put into this program today. Mayor, thank you so much for everything. I appreciate you and keep up with what you do. And just thank you to the city of Miami Beach because you've been very kind to my mom, and I can assure you she appreciated every one of you. So thank you. Thank you.
Russell. Born and raised in Miami Beach, Russell Galbert has been a leader and visionary entrepreneur for over 50 years. A graduate of Cornell University School of Hotel Administration in 1974, he laid the foundation for an exceptional career spanning diverse industries, including real estate, hospitality, politics, and charity. Russell embarked on his professional voyage as a hotel and real estate consultant with Laventhal and Harworth. I guess I should have, if I can't pronounce it, don't say it. Is that the? His talent and drive led him to return to his hometown, where he began his independent ventures in 1976. An architect of change, he swiftly began constructing condominiums and retail centers from the ground up, leaving an indelible mark on the South Florida skyline. While steering his burgeoning business, Russell's thirst for knowledge remained insatiable. In 1980, he earned his JD at the University of Miami School of Law, coupled with his prior CPA certification that gave Russell his multidimensional expertise, especially when it came to development. In 1983, Russell's pioneering spirit brought about the acquisition and transformation of the Shelbourne Hotel, the first in a series of visionary hotel conversions. In 1989, he acquired the Alexander, spearheading its evolution into a groundbreaking condo hotel concept. That same year, he co-founded Crescent Heights, an entity committed to revolutionizing urban living through condominium homeownership. Today, the company is a titan in multifamily residential development, boasting an impressive portfolio that spans major cities nationwide. In the last 50 years, no one has touched more parts of the Miami Beach real estate community as Russell. His dedication to preserving the grandeur of historic Art Deco landmarks like the Gale, Carriage House, Carriage Clubs, Ocean Pavilion, Castle Hotel, Cascades, and other beach treasures have been nothing short of inspiring. Russell's commitment to Miami Beach community resonates deeply. His family's lineage in the city stretches over 6 generations. Today, over 100 Galbert family members reside in Miami Beach, and most of them are probably here today, right, Russell? Including Russell's grandchildren and his 3 siblings. His dedication to his family and community mirrors his success in business, showcasing a true balance between professional achievements and personal values. As a significant benefactor to numerous charities, Russell has impacted countless lives. He established the Russell and Ronald Lee Galbert Family Foundation and funded the Miami Beach JCC and the Hebrew Academy. Russell has not only transformed communities through his visionary effort, but also redefined what it means to be a leader. While his accomplishments are truly monumental, he remains refreshingly humble, accessible, and radiates warmness. His sense of humor and genuine kindness makes everyone feel like they're his best friend, right? Everyone in the room is his best friend, correct? In the presence of such an extraordinary individual, it becomes evident that success can be coupled with humility. And that's what endears us to Russell and everyone who's fortunate to know him. Today, as we recognize his induction to the Hall of Fame, let us celebrate the multifaceted nature of this remarkable person. He is more than just his accomplishments. He's a person who enriches our lives with humor, charm, and care. He's a person whose heart and generosity have touched many lives, including mine and those of countless in our communities. Please welcome Russell Galbert.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you, Robin, and other members of the selection committee. And I'd also like to thank the administration. It's not easy, but they went about this in the most incredible way, and really looking at those who have made a change and a real impact in our community. They're really to be appreciated. I have a few people to thank, so give me a moment. I'd like to thank the incredible team of Pamela Broomer, Cindy Esquivel, Elaine Bloom, Marcia Zerowitz, Carla Probus, and so many who insisted on nominating me when I told them it really wasn't important. They felt it was important, and it was really quite interesting how this all came about. Robin was right. Many of my family are here in the crowd. We are 6 generations. I'm part of the 3rd generation, but representatives from the 5th and 6th, and I believe the 4th for sure are here as well. So I really do appreciate it, and I do look at this as being for the entire Galbert family. I can tell you that we were fortunate enough that our grandparents, my grandparents, decided to move to Miami Beach in 1929. They were givers right from the beginning. My grandfather was known as the mayor of South Beach. And it followed suit with the next generation and all the generations that came after. It wouldn't be right to not acknowledge my mother-in-law, who's in the crowd today. Her husband also served in government, was a commissioner for many years with Cy Gelber, who was the mayor at the time. So I appreciate Barbara Eisenberg, my wife Ronald Lee, my children, my grandchildren, and all of the next generation that I have such special relationships, including Keith Mannon, Jared Galbert, and many, many, many others. I couldn't not mention today my 3 brothers. It's very easy to be the 4th in line when you have leadership to look up to. My brothers Robert, David, and Albie have all contributed to this community extensively. Some of my brothers have served as the presidents and rabbis of Hebrew Academy, Beth Israel's, Beth Jacob, Bethel, numerous institutions, excellent institutions, and their give back to the community. My brother Albie was planning board chairman for many years. It's just all part of a family and part of a community. It's what goes into making a community, and I have to give them respect and covet because they certainly deserve it. And lastly, I'd like to acknowledge my parents who are no longer here with us. My father used to say, there's no place like Miami Beach, and I can tell you, I've worked in 37 municipalities around the world, and he was absolutely right. There is no place like Miami Beach. Thank you very, very much for giving me this honor. It really belongs to the community and everybody who's sitting here with us together today. Thank you again.
Mayor of South Beach. Whenever I tell people I'm the mayor of Miami Beach, they ask me who the mayor of South Beach is. Okay, now you're not supposed to laugh till the punchline, but you all got there already, because obviously I couldn't be the mayor of a cool place like South Beach. But thank you, thank you. So the next inductees, by the way, Lisette did a wonderful thing for me. I know them pretty well, so I'm going to probably wing a lot of this. And since I'm both introducing it and receiving it, I want to thank my sisters, Barbara and Judy, for nominating my parents. Barbara and Judy, where are you? There. And I also, there's some brother-in-laws that are here. Thank you for coming, and John and Steve, and representatives of the grandkids. So we got Claudia Barker, Hannah Gelber, and Sophie Gelber, and the lady next to them, my wife, Joan. Okay. So here's the thing. You know, my parents really were pretty amazing, obviously, and I don't mean any disrespect to anyone else, but they're my favorite nominees today. Sorry, Russell's going to call me later and say, you know, really? But they were first-generation Americans who grew up in the Depression. And, you know, it's interesting because when you think about people who grew up in the Depression in New York, you would think that maybe there would be bitterness or something, but there was no bitterness. They really, in their heart, believed that the very best thing they could do was to elevate others and commence a life of service. There was nothing else they ever wanted to do in their lives. My father was born in Brighton Beach, but he came here and first was exposed to Miami Beach really on a weekend tour where he was training for the Army Air Corps on our beaches, like so many folks who came here. I'm sure Mr. Drucker came here in a similar way. And that's a history of our city that people don't know. People came here, all these soldiers trained on our beaches and liked it so much they came back. My dad actually wanted to be a social worker. So he went to the University of Miami in his Eisenhower jacket and looking for the social work school. And somebody asked somebody where it was, and they said, well, we don't have a social work school. There's a law school, that's the closest thing. So he walked over to the law school, and the dean saw him in the Eisenhower jacket, knew that the GI Bill gave incredible incentives for GIs who were, and said, you're in. My dad did not have a college degree, by the way. He had never completed college, but he was, under the GI Bill, allowed, he had enough credits to become a lawyer. And I should note that his classmate was Russell's father, who, because the names were so similar, Galbert and Gelber, my dad was a very, very reserved man, an unusual quality for someone in politics. So he didn't like to, never really liked to speak. So Russell's father answered every question that was directed at Gelber. He answered every single question, and we're all better for it. But he spent a life in service. He, after Miami Law School, you know, he was not a good student. He was not a good student. He struggled a lot in his studies. But he, at the Normandy School in North Beach, and how many of you remember the Normandy School in North Beach? There's very few. It was a school, I think it must be where that sushi restaurant is, where it floats around on 72nd Street. It was a school. And my dad went there, and where he was actually the phys ed coach, because what would a dumb jock do but be the phys ed coach? And he met a foreign language teacher at the time who taught Spanish, French, Latin, and English, who came from New York also, went to Hunter College, Columbia, for her master's, went through high school and college in a record time, and was exactly the opposite of my father in every way. If he was a dumb jock, she was an enlightened intellectual. So of course they hit it off and became a yin and a yang, and then he went to law school, and then later in life got a master's and a PhD at FSU because he so much wanted to continue his education and training. But together their careers really, even before he was mayor, were pretty incredible. My dad was an assistant state attorney under Richard Gerstein, then he became, for a few years, an assistant attorney general in Tallahassee. He came back after a few years there and then continued as a judge for decades and a professor at the University of Miami and FIU in law. Really always focusing on sort of the community, even as a judge, and the courthouse does bear his name across the bay. He believed in the programs that would elevate young people. That's what he spent almost all of his time doing, and I think that's what garnered him so much interest and recognition. Meanwhile, my mother had become, frankly, the most popular teacher in the feeder pattern. I know this because my high school yearbook, which I hope to have had some prominence in, was dedicated to my mother. Literally, her big picture's there. I'm like, and she had a kid here. But she was in the feeder pattern like you, not just the Normandy School. She taught at every school, at Beth Shalom, at Fisher-Feinberg, at Nautilus, at Beach High. And she believed and loved what she did with kids. And I can tell you, I would, and it didn't occur to me at the time that it was anything unusual, but my mother would give tests almost every day. She'd grade them every night. She created so much work for herself. And after everybody had gone to sleep, she was still working. And for a woman born in 1924, a lot of spectacular women became teachers because that was the only path that they had. And my mother was one of those people. She could speak almost any language immediately. And so together they really had an impact in our community that was remarkable. But in the early 90s, Miami Beach was really at a tough spot. We were going through a very substantial identity crisis. We were in the middle of what was known as the Black Boycott. Because of a snubbing of Nelson Mandela by various cities throughout Dade County. Just a few years earlier, Anita Bryant had led a very homophobic, hate-filled campaign against the gay community. And we had these sort of burgeoning populations of Hispanic residents, gay residents, who felt absolutely underappreciated, they felt unheard, they felt like they weren't recognized in our city. So my father sort of ran as an outsider, and my mother with him every step of the way. And what they basically did is they ran against very well-funded, difficult opponents. I remember my dad, the first day, and I was his campaign manager, he said, he announced the $100 campaign limit. And I looked at him like, are you nuts? And he said, I thought it'd be a good thing to say. I said, yeah, but how are we going to fund a campaign? And we really it was hard. But he won overwhelmingly, I think, because people believed and trusted him. He, as the mayor, he got elected. He was very proud of a couple things, and he did them really with my mother in a lot of ways. But one of the things he did that I think he probably was most proud of is that, the first thing he did was ask every single member of every committee, every one of them, to resign. He believed that they didn't reflect the true diversity of our community. There are very few Hispanics on committees, very few gay residents. So he said, everybody resigns. And I remember he would get calls from very powerful people who were on land boards saying, I own a lot of land in this city and you're not kicking me off this committee. And my dad said, you're off. Imagine to my colleagues now, if I tried to do that, you would all be like, it'd be my last day, right? No, but he said, and he had a terrible politically incorrect way of saying things that were virtuous. And this is, I shouldn't say, and turn it all off. No, I'll say it. When someone said to him, I want to be on a committee, he said, if your name doesn't end in a Z or you're not gay, you're not getting on a committee. And what he meant is if you're not Hispanic and you're not gay, it's time for other people to take part in our city's governance. And he made a lot of enemies when he did that, but he believed that the city had to pivot, that our city was no longer going to be a homogeneous white Jewish community. It was going to be something much different and better. And I think that is what he did. He ended the Black Boycott very quickly because he gave a key to the city to Nelson Mandela and orchestrated what's known as the Black Hotel deal, which actually was a black developer, started a hotel which now still sits. It was Don Peebles at the time. So he did that, and I think those are the things that he was known for. But one of the things that I thought, and I think the thing he's probably has had the most amount of longevity, was that he and my mother really believed that culture and art was a way to define your city. He believed that in every way. And my mother was an instinctive cultural person. She was friends with people who were in the arts. She loved it. She could read things in every language and understand things in every language. She loved it. My father was a bit of a rube, if I could use that word, and that he really didn't have an instinct for it. But what he did have an instinct for was the fact that it seemed to connect people together. It seemed to give them something to share. It created a sense of who we are, a sense of place. So he was all in on it, and they were really able to do amazing things when he was the mayor. He starting the Cultural Arts Council, starting the Percent for Art purchasing program, everything. I mean, but more than that, it was creating a sense of it. I don't think he could have done any of those things without his erstwhile chief of staff, who, although she was only 12 years old at the time, did a great job. So Michelle Berger is here. I think I'm not sure I used erstwhile right. Neeson will correct me later. But the truth is, though, that, you know, I'll end with this. My parents, and my dad once told me this when I was first elected to office, and again, every time, maybe I wasn't learning the lesson, he said, the greatest things you do are not going to be something you get glory for while you're there. They may not even be something that comes to fruition while you're alive. He says, you have to accept that if you take public service. And my parents, I think, believe that. My mother was a teacher because she believed every single kid, and she didn't just help the smartest kids. My mother had projects, man, and I meet them all the time. And they were people who just, they said, I was dumb as dirt, and your mom took me aside and made me her favorite teacher. And she believed that everybody had worth, everybody had merit, everybody had the right to reach their greatest potential. And she loved the fact that she was in a position to do that. Teaching gave her a profession that she just loved. And my father, as a juvenile court judge, but as the mayor, believed the same thing. He believed that the things he did for this city and for others would have a long-lasting impact, even well beyond his terms and well beyond his life. And I think that was what I take most from them, is that their sense of service was with a long view, with a soulful view, and with the belief that if they could elevate the others around them, if they could elevate their community, they will have done something truly special. And they'll know it, and that's enough. So with that, I'd like to call up my sisters, Judy Gelber and Barbara Gelber. And I want to thank you for nominating our dad while I'm still the mayor. Okay. You can say hello.
Hi, everyone. It's great to get this wonderful recognition. Thank you so much to the committee and everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, and congratulations to everybody who's going to be inducted with our fine parents. Thank you.
Thank you. It's the role of the commissioners. Wingmen. Congratulations to the entire Gelber family. Jerry Lippin. At a young age, Jerry witnessed how hard his parents worked, products of the Great Depression. They taught him the importance of working hard and helping others. Because of this, he started his altruistic endeavors at the age of 13, volunteering at the local JCC. Jerry knew that his calling was in acts of service and bettering his community. Jerry became the executive director of Miami Beach JCC in 1982 after completing his master's in social work. Since then, he has worn many hats, including the president of the Miami Beach Rotary Club, the Nor Isle Optimist Club, the North Beach Development Corporation, and the Normandy Shore Homeowners Association, where he lived for 30 years. In addition, Jerry served 2 years as a Miami Beach commissioner from 2005 to 2013, and was hired as the president and CEO of the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce, where he served from 2010 to 2023. He had, 2 terms. Thank you, Mayor Bauer. He attributes most of his success to the love and support that he's always received from his wife, Dr. Raquel Bill Libin, and his 2 children, Sari and Moisha, who are here today. Please stand up. As strong supporter of the arts, Jerry spearheaded several initiatives throughout his time as Miami Beach City Commissioner and President and CEO of the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce. His successes helped solidify Miami Beach as a groundbreaking cultural arts community. He is most proud of his strong support of the Frank Gehry-designed New World Center and his staunch support of the expansion of the Bass Museum. Public education was a very important priority for Jerry, and through the Miami Beach Chamber Education Foundation, he's been able to secure health care in the form of school nurses in all 8 of the public schools in the Miami Beach feeder pattern for over a decade. He has also been able to provide mental health counselors in all 6 of the schools located in Miami Beach in partnership with the city, as well as the Children's Trust. Jerry's significant efforts have been contributed to making Miami Beach an iconic destination, attracting visitors from all over the world, and he continues to make everlasting impressions on our community. Through his hard work, determination, and persistence to support Miami Beach residents, art, and culture, Jerry has been an exemplary presence in my life and countless of others here today, always lending a helping hand, offering sage advice, and imparting wisdom that has shaped not only our personal journeys, but also our collective pursuits. What sets Jerry apart from everyone else and is not just his professional accomplishments, but also his exceptional character. He is a beacon of integrity, kindness, and inclusivity. He's always striving to bring people together to do good things. Over the past 40 years, Jerry has cultivated enduring friendships. These friendships are a testament to the genuine warmth, compassion, and the profound impact he's had on the lives of those fortunate to call him friend. My privilege and honor to call Jerry Libin.
I should just say thank you and sit down. That was great. Thank you, Robin. Dear members of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee and members of the City Commission, it's with great humility and incredible pride that I stand here today and accept the tremendous honor of being inducted into the Hall of Fame class along with the other distinguished guests that are being in this year's class. As we join previously inducted luminaries, such as Mayor Matty Bauer, Norman Brayman, the Estefans, and Tony Goldman, just to name a few, I can't help but think about what it is that brought me here today. As I thought about what I was going to say to all of you today, it was clear to me that my message would be about recognizing some of the people that have assisted me throughout the past 40-plus years of service that I've been privileged to provide to our beloved community. Because without the support of others, the things that I have been able to impact could never have happened. In 1982, it was Jerry Schwartz. I think he's here today. Jerry, you here? Okay, it was in 1982, Jerry Schwartz, who then as president, yeah, give it up, who then as president of the fledgling Miami Beach Family Center, okay, brought me to Miami Beach as the first executive director. And together, along with my only staff member, Iris Berger, she's here today. Iris, thank you for being here. We began to build a movement that today stands as a tribute to the hard work of so many individuals that followed Jerry's lead. And as a result, today we have the beautiful Galbert Family Jewish Community Center on the Simpkins Family Campus. Is that right? Similarly, many of the efforts that I led in North Beach, long before I was elected as city commissioner, only could happen because I had the support of former city manager George Gonzalez and other mayors and commissioners during those years. It was always with their support that gave me the ability to be successful. Unfortunately, George Gonzalez couldn't be with us today. But I want to take a moment to publicly thank him for his long-term friendship and support, and also for being the person who nominated me to be in the Hall of Fame to the committee today. Although there are so many people that I would like to acknowledge, my time is limited. However, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the tremendous leadership that I've been blessed to work with at the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce over the past decade, including past chamber chairs Michael Goldberg, Wayne Pathman, Robin Jacobs, and current chair Aaron Tandy, as well as chair-elect Richard Siegel. I would also mention, I don't know if she's here today, but Enid Rodriguez, if Enid is here, long-term supporter. She worked for me 7 years as my aide in the commission office and 10 years at the Chamber of Commerce. And for all of you in office, you know that a lot of things happen only because of your aides. In conclusion, I want to recognize my amazing wife, Dr. Raquel Bill Libin, my children, Sari and Moshe, and most importantly, my mother-in-law, Ida Bild, Ida, over there, who has lived with me for the past 27 years. I want to thank them for their unbelievable support of all of the crazy initiatives that took me away from my family, really, you all know, over the past 37 years of my marriage, including the countless hours spent as a city commissioner. But I will tell you, I loved every minute of my service, and to all of you and to our community. For those of you who may not know this, I was a recipient of both a heart and kidney transplant last year. So I'm blessed to be standing here with you today. And I may understand better than most people, the ability to provide service to others is a gift from God, who's afforded me a few extra innings to continue to do so. Thank you to all of my friends and family who made it to important to come down here today, and a few that are watching streaming. And once again, thank you to the committee and the City Commission for bestowing this honor upon me. It's an honor that I will treasure the rest of my life. Thank you all.
Nancy. In 1959, Nancy Weinstein Liebman and her husband moved to Miami Beach for Norman's residency from Jersey City, New Jersey, where she studied education at the Teachers College of New Jersey. As a devoted mother to her 3 children, Mark, Jill, and Penny, Nancy Liebman got involved with the school's PTA association. Soon she was elected to serve as president. In 1979, Nancy became aware that many of Miami Beach historic structures were at serious risk of demolition. Feeling compelled to join the preservation movement, she unintentionally kickstarted her lifelong career as a civic leader, community activist, and historic preservationist. One of Nancy's first successful projects was in the 80s, where she and other activists prevented Miami-Dade County from changing the Venetian Causeway into a 4-lane highway. Nancy served for 9 years as a board member of the Miami-Dade Heritage Trust. In 1982, Nancy helped organize the National Trust's first visit to Miami Beach and advocacy for the protection of historic buildings. The visit led to further protections against the demolition of other historic buildings on a local level. It was in 1987 when she was appointed to the Historic Preservation Board, where she serves as a chair for 6 years on the committee, and in 1989, Nancy was appointed as executive director of the Miami Design Preservation League. Nancy Liebman lobbied in Washington, D.C. for Miami Beach's historic buildings to legally retain their original names, and this is the rule that still applies today. Nancy dedicated her life to Miami Beach, culminating in her appointment to Miami Beach's City Commission in 1993, where she served until 2001, and as she continued to support historic preservation. In 2014, Nancy Liebman founded the local community activist group, Miami Beach United. This group is still very active today and utilizes the city's platform to effectively achieve the goals of historic preservation. Preservation Dreams, Memoirs of Nancy Liebman were 2021, followed by another landmark, Bites the Dust, in 2023. Nancy is a true visionary who saw the value in safeguarding our city's rich heritage and architectural treasures long before it became a widespread cause. She's a true pioneer in the preservation movement and a dedicated guardian of Miami Beach's heritage. Her tireless efforts have left an indelible mark on Miami Beach. We stand here today in awe of her foresight and gratitude for her enduring legacy. Nancy?
We have a microphone.
right here. Here we go. Okay. Got it? Thank you. Yep. I didn't see all of it. I was so worried about, am I going to say anything? I was too worried that Maddie was going to make me laugh.
The mic in front of your face.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Bill Bauer.
When I got the message that I was going to do something very exotic and stand up and talk to more people than I think I ever knew, and so I listened to all of you who had wonderful things to tell us, and I wasn't in that part of my life yet. That took a much longer time, and I can't even express how excited I am. First of all, to see this. I mean, I think I only know maybe 15 people in this. But I do know several important people who are here. My husband, Norman, who couldn't call, can stand up. They taught me how to do this. Okay, you're standing. Tell us, how many years have we been married?
About 66.
It was that long? Yes. My daughter, my gorgeous daughter, I have two gorgeous daughters. I'm going to, should I pick out the one who I can see? I don't know where the other one disappeared. I hope she didn't leave. Oh, I know that. He thought he would be in the front row. I should have put him in the front row. Mark, do you want to come sit in the front row? Perfect. And I've had many other wonderful things happen to me. The most important thing that I loved doing was the historic preservation movement, because it was before the movement, I had to take care of those children who were just getting born. So I was a little later in where I was, but if you notice, I'm probably the oldest one in the room with the whatever they call these things. So I would like to mention things that haven't been mentioned really, because all of my friends and family and everybody, they know much of the old time. I started a little late, and I have just this year, I have set back to a regular thing to do. I was tired of going to all of the meetings and exercises and things that you had to do. Now, as I'm standing here, I see people that I haven't seen in that many years. But I took over the part of the preservation movement that had just become. And if I had time and I had the energy to do it, I would do all of it, just like I did with that guy. That guy. And now I see my husband is tired of listening to me. That's right. This is my husband. Should I tell him your name?
They know my name. And the entire Liebman family is appreciative of this award. Is it the greatest honor of Nancy's life. And all I can say is that I, as her husband, think she deserves it grandly. Come. Come. Oh. You want me in this?
I just showed up.
Okay, we'll tell Nancy.
Okay. Come. Huh? No, no pictures. Okay. Good? Yeah.
Wow, you did great.
Come.
You did great.
There, you got, the young man is going to take you to your seat.
That's good. That's good.
Hey, how you doing? How are you? How you been? You look the same. All right. So the first time I met Mark Samuelin was at my doorstep, I think, when he was knocking on doors to find votes. And I think we spent 10 minutes with him explaining to me how to pronounce his name. And it was obvious to me at that point that he had the patience to be a Miami Beach City Commissioner. You know, Mark Samuelin's roots in South Florida and Miami Beach run very deep. He's been a homeowner here for decades, and he's always loved the richness and diversity of our residents and our neighborhoods. Mark met Laura Dominguez, Commissioner Laura Dominguez, his life partner, and they resided on Belle Isle for many, many years. But to understand Mark's background and the reason we're putting him in the Hall of Fame, I want to go over what he's done and really who I think he really was. Mark was born in Boston. He attended public schools. He was the first in his family to earn a college degree. And he learned the lessons of life from his mom and dad, who were small business owners who worked tirelessly for 50 years. Mark went on to receive an engineering degree with honors from Georgia Tech, and then an MBA from a little school in Pennsylvania called the Wharton School. He felt a great passion for our city. And when he was elected to the Miami Beach Commission in 2017, I think our residents felt the same way. He received almost 70% of the votes and won every precinct in the city. He was reelected without opposition. And he served on a lot of the major committees, the Economic Resilience Committee. He addressed over 1,000 resident inquiries and concerns, more than probably anyone else, and passed many, many initiatives to enhance the city's resiliency, its public safety, its quality of life. Mark was a resident-first commissioner from the beginning to the end. And he also served on the governing boards of the Miami-Dade Beacon Council, the Chamber of Commerce, the Advisory Board, the World Affairs Council of Miami. He was also a past president of Miami Beach United. He also attended our Miami Beach Leadership Academy. But let me tell you why I think Mark was really such a very special man. You know, Mark, if you talk to him, you got a sense he was listening. And I sat next to him for many years on the commission, and I know my colleagues would feel the same way. You could see Mark actively listening, trying so hard to do what was right, trying with every bit of that enormous brain of his to figure out the right path. Never really seen a colleague, and I served in the legislature for a decade. I've served here for 6 years. I've never really had a colleague who worked so hard to get it right. And he was such a smart man that for him getting it right meant something. He believed in listening. And I watched him with residents, every resident, no matter where they came from, no matter who they were, he believed that they were important and whatever they were talking about was important. Even if we might not think it was, he did. And it was really something spectacular. he was a model in every way. He debated issues until he came to a judgment. He did that analytically. He did that honestly. Nobody ever believed for a second that he wasn't trying his hardest to get it right. So for me, I can tell you, and I think my colleagues agree, Mark Samulin was, as much as any person who's ever served in our city, a model of civility, and he had a seriousness of purpose. Two qualities, by the way, that unfortunately are not present in today's politics anywhere in enough abundance. But for Mark, he was that example. He was that example of agreeing disagreeably, agreeably disagreeing, but also respecting everybody who came before him, who worked with him. He really was a spectacular person in that regard, and in my judgment, was one of our great commissioners that we lost too early, obviously. That is what made Mark so authentic. And with that, I'd like to ask our colleague, Commissioner Lori Dominguez, to accept this honor.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations to all of the inductees this morning. And I do want to say that I was so touched when I had learned that the residents had nominated Mark Samulin for the Hall of Fame. And I want to start out by giving a special thanks to Susanna Perucker, Ed Garces, Gail Durham, Mohammed Islam, Carla Probus, and everyone on the Hall of Fame committee for voting for Mark. And Mark really was very passionate about the Miami Beach community. He actually first started coming down here as a young child because his grandfather had retired in Coral Gables. He learned to play chess here at 5 years old, and it was a passion that stuck with him, being a former national chess champion. He was very passionate about Miami Beach. As the mayor mentioned, he graduated from the Leadership Academy. He also served on the Belle Isle Residents Association on their board of directors, and he worked very closely with Nancy Liebman on Miami Beach United and was president there. As a former national chess champion, he liked to sponsor kids that didn't have the funds to attend competitions, and he also tutored chess across the schools in Miami Beach. And he won the commission every precinct in 2017 and won unopposed in 2021. And while serving along on the Miami Beach Commission, there were just some specifics that really he was so passionate about. He strongly advocated for the passage of the GeoBond program that included projects of the Beach Walk and the Bay Walk, which he used to walk almost every day. And he advocated for the implementation, of the Inspector General's office. And he also helped pass an ordinance establishing the first ever, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, resiliency standards for tidal flood protection and construction for the seawalls and tidal flood barriers in Miami Beach. He sponsored a resolution creating the private property adaptation, which is one of the first of its kind and has been written about across the nation. But he was a champion for the residents. He, along with Nancy, supported the residents' right to know. Thank you. And what he cared about most was having public outreach. Speaking and engaging with the public was something that he felt was as important as the final decision himself. He loved listening to and advocating for the residents. So this is what made Mark so authentic. To have him honored today really speaks volumes of the man that he was and the legacy that he's left.
Okay. I remember Mark once used to play chess. He used to organize these chess tournaments with the community, and he would play like 10 or 15 kids simultaneously. I used to always say, you can't beat an adult, so you're only going to beat 10 or 15 kids at the same time. He was really amazing. Thank you, Laura. Okay, MTT. So, by the way, you know you are a true luminary when the world knows you only by 3 initials. MTT. Michael Tilson Thomas is the artistic director laureate of the Miami New World Symphony, as well as the director laureate of both San Francisco Symphony and the conductor laureate of the London Symphony Orchestra. So here's the thing about MTT. If Judy Drucker sort of started what we were doing in all of this, MTT was the greatest get this community ever could get in culture. He is ever, you're going to not find someone as amazing as he is. He was able to put us on the map. And just the notion that the most brilliant conductor in the history of orchestral music would bring his talent and vision to our city made us special. He co-founded the New World Symphony in 1987, choosing Miami Beach as its home. New World Center has been at the forefront of developments in the areas of art and in education. His vision to create a cultural hub where the community could enjoy free concerts in Soundscape Park outside the concert hall. And if you've not been there, shame on you. There may be hundreds of people inside. There are thousands of people outside, and it's really something quite amazing. Am I supposed to do a donor pitch at this point, Howard? He committed that the New World would present so people could see it. And if you don't know how they do it, it's really something quite amazing. They choreograph everything they do on the wall so that you can see things that you might not know even if you were in the hall, because they figured out, they know who's playing next in the orchestra. And it's really an amazing experience. But the visual art that's displayed on that wall is extraordinary for our residents and for our visitors. His career is international. He often says that his legacy lies in Miami Beach, but it lies all over the world. But for 35 years, the New World has produced more than 1,200 alumni, 90% of which maintain careers in music, working in over 30 countries across the globe. Now, his repertoire of more than 125 discs have won 12 Grammy Awards. His television work includes a series with the London Symphony Orchestra for British television, television broadcasts for the New York Philharmonic, young people concerts from 71 to 77, and numerous productions on PBS, great performances. He is, and now it was in French when they gave it to me, he's an officer of the Order of the Arts and Letters of France. I did not want to subject you to me trying to say that in French. A recipient of the Musical America's Musician of the Year and Conductor of the Year awards. He's been profiled on CBS 60 Minutes. In 2008, he received the Peabody Award for his radio series titled The MTT Files, produced for SFS Media. In 2010, he was honored with the National Media of Arts. Mr. Tilson Thomas has been inducted into the California Hall of Fame, the American Academy of Arts and Letters. He's also a distinguished recipient of the 2019 Kennedy Center Honors. In 2020, his profile on American Masters titled Where Now Is made its premiere. Artistic leaders from organizations all over the United States come to see what he has created here in really some amazing ways. So, I think that when I talk to people and I ask them if they've been there, and Howard, you're here. Howard Herring, please let's acknowledge Howard. I tell them that if you want to know, and I always use the phrase, our community has to have a sense of place. I'm talking about exactly Soundscape Park and the New World Center, the New World Symphony. To be there, to experience that with friends and family or just alone is something that's extraordinary, and you're not going to get anywhere else. And other places come here to learn how we did it, to learn that vision, to replicate it, and to make it something that they might be able to produce elsewhere. And that is truly amazing. I am going to ask someone to come up to accept this honor. And you need to know that when my dad said that sometimes you work on things that you don't really see until later, our former mayor, Neeson Kasdan, did a lot in art and culture, a lot. My father, he did. And this was a project he worked tremendously on and has still worked to keep it robust and durable. And I want to ask him to please come up and accept this honor.
Thank you, Dan, and dignitaries here today. I'd like to first congratulate all those who are inductees in this Hall of Fame, many who I know for many decades, and of their contributions. It is a great honor for me to be able to be here to represent Michael, who could not be here today, in receiving this award. Michael's role in the world of culture and music is at the very zenith in this universe. Michael, his history, of course, is stellar. He was an understudy, a protege of Leonard Bernstein, one of the great cultural and musical figures of the 20th century. As Mayor Gelber has talked about, he has led so many of the world's most important symphony orchestras, including his principal roles at London, 25 years at San Francisco, shaping that into one of the great orchestras in the world. And of course, his seminal work in conceiving and creating and growing the New World Symphony here in Miami Beach, which is the preeminent postgraduate institution for music students in the world. It is an institution that sends ambassadors of music and ambassadors of the city of Miami Beach to major orchestras throughout the world, both evangelizing the need to modernize and popularize and evolve the classical music form, but also telling a story about our own home, Miami Beach. Michael's a composer, lauded and awarded greatly for all that he has done. And Michael has been a resident of Miami Beach. Just his great achievements, being one of the great figures of our time in this world, in the music world, in the orchestral music world, the classical music world, the cultural world, alone would merit his recognition in the Hall of Fame in this community. But it is much more than that that Michael is being honored for today. When Michael, if you look at the life of the city, of the history of Miami Beach, there are a few figures which have shaped the destiny of this community. John Collins, who founded the city of Miami Beach. Carl Fisher, who was the person who created the great resort community that Miami Beach became for the following decades. There were others as well, but Carl Fisher was first among them in creating the great resort city we have today. And when the city was sort of down on its luck and looking to be reborn, the vision of Barbara Kappeman to recognize the treasure of the Art Deco architecture helped spark the revitalization of this community. But Michael Tilson Thomas had a very special role in changing the identity and nature of Miami Beach and what people think. When I was a kid growing up in Miami Beach, there was no culture in the city of Miami Beach. We were not known as a cultural city. Judy, who was honored earlier, in prehistory was the only person who brought culture to the city of Miami Beach. And then this incredible thing happened in the city in the 1980s, where arts organizations were created and began to grow here, centered largely on Lincoln Road, the Miami City Ballet, the Art Center South Florida, and the New World Symphony, which, with the money from the Arison family, bought and refurbished the Lincoln Theater. And that became the cultural center and spawning ground for cultural institutions throughout this region, not only in Miami Beach, but throughout, as I said, this entire region. It was a birth of culture, a renaissance for Miami Beach. It changed the course of history of this community in making this a community that is now known as a cultural city and a cultural institution. No figure, and there have been many great figures in that movement in that period of time, has had a more profound and lasting effect than MTT. Finally, I want to talk about his additional lasting legacy to our community. I remember in the 90s having lunch with Michael on Ocean Drive, to paraphrase Yogi Berra, when people used to go there. And Michael laid out his vision of what he could create, obviously for the advancement and evolution of orchestral music, but also for this city. That he would create a great building that would be the laboratory for his art form, and a great public space in the heart of the city. Where the New World Center now sits was a surface parking lot. Michael's vision was to create this great laboratory for the creation and evolution of the classical music form in a great public building with a great park. Other people in the city had different ideas. They wanted to put shopping centers there, they wanted to put hotels. We were able to prevent that from happening, and then Michael was able to achieve his dream. And in doing so as well, his childhood babysitter, Frank Geary, he encouraged him to be the architect. So we now have this magnificent Geary building, functionally, which operates like no other building of its kind in the world, and institutions, universities, orchestras are trying to emulate what they have created there, with sound space, a beautiful park that is also this incredible gift to the public to enjoy the culture, to enjoy the experience in our beautiful environment for free. This is a part of Michael's lasting legacy, not only shaping and changing the world of orchestral music, not only being a leader in his field for 2 generations, but also leaving his indelible mark in the city in making Miami Beach today a cultural community known for its culture, and more than that, anchoring it with a magnificent New World Center, which is the manifestation of all that he has done for our community. I can think of no one in our history of Miami Beach more worthy of receiving this honor than Michael, and on his behalf, I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our program. Thank you, Mayor Gelber and Robin Jacobs, for emceeing today's event.